Hi, everybody. Pam England here, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the call on our journey together following in the footsteps of Inanna. Psychologist James Hillman tells us that troubles are calls from the gods. And indeed, there's enough trouble all around us these days, so much so we can scarcely ignore our callings. In his myth of Plato describes the dream of a fallen Roman soldier while he was lying among corpses on the battlefield. You can picture all the bodies lying there bloated and rotting, and finally someone's going around with a cart to collect them, to throw them onto a pyre. When they find the soldiers joke, "Wow, this one looks pretty good," and they throw him on the cart and take him to the pyre. Just as he's about to be thrown on the pyre, he wakes up and he describes an elaborate dream he's just had in his state of shock or recovery. And he describes what he saw in the celestial realms, how before taking birth, human souls gather to select an image or pattern that he or she will live on earth in this lifetime. Then each soul is given a daimon, a soul companion that guides each soul to earth and continues guiding that soul during their life on earth. But before the souls take birth on earth, they pass through the lap of forgetfulness or drink from the river of forgetfulness. So when they are born, when they start growing up, they may still have a fleeting memory of their agreement in early childhood. They may have a fleeting memory of their fate, but most soon forget and spend their life searching for meaning and discovering what they came to do. So when the souls wandered through the dreary hot plain of oblivion, they became thirsty. I love this part of the story. And they were instructed, they were required to drink from the river of forgetfulness. The younger souls gulp the water from the river to quench their thirst, and therefore they forget what they agreed to do in this upcoming lifetime. And they may feel more lost for a longer time, trying to find that purpose. But the older and more patient souls only take a sip, and they endure being parched so that they can remember their destiny. And they may be the souls who seem more driven early in life and more directed in childhood. Nonetheless, as we all progress through this life on earth, whenever we get caught up in the distractions of earth and life here, when we lose our way or stray from our destiny or just can't remember what we're supposed to be doing, so we start doing something else, our daimon nudges us towards circumstances to help us fulfill the purpose we took birth for. Psychologist and author Clarissa Pinkola Estes, many of you know her as the author of Women Who Run with the Wolves. In this book, she describes the call as a homing signal that goes off when we are out of balance, when we are not doing what we need to do. Nature sends this mysterious cue that causes the animal kingdom to migrate, to mate, and to hunt. But the human homing signal uses many disguises to redirect our attention and intention. It may use dreams or a sense of disease or accidents, chance meeting with people or animals to get us back on the path. Maybe in some way, this invisible parasite COVID-19 is acting as a homing signal for individuals, but also for the collective right now to help get us back on track in some way. So Greeks referred to the soul companion as daimon. Romans called it our genius. Some call it Lady Luck. Some call it soul or destiny, fate, or the acorn. But by whatever you call this soul companion, it holds your best interest at heart. It guides you if you get off track. It protects you. And sometimes when something kind of coincidental or magical has happened, you find yourself saying, thank my lucky star or thank my guardian angel. So I just mentioned the acorn. And in his book, The Soul's Code by James Hillman, it's a great book. I highly recommend it. James Hillman, he's a psychologist. He talks about the acorn theory, which is an ancient way of looking at things that follows the myth of that was written in the latter half of the 1st century. So this is very old. But the acorn theory says that each of us is singled out. The unique acorn can be seen in the unique eachness of character in every human being. The acorn theory credits the eachness, the uniqueness to how everyone is born with a defining image, a character, our own aesthetic, our spark of consciousness, the way we embody our own idea, and how our personality, expresses itself. And this acorn, this daimon, does not tolerate straying too much. Each child is gifted in a unique way and has unique imagination, and even the way that it may have maladaptive tendencies is part of that eachness. Now, modern culture attributes the uniqueness and potential of humans to genetics and the nature-nurture theory. In other words, who you are is determined by the genes you are born with and how the adult socioeconomic status, education, nutrition, environment you were born into nurtured you. I love this quote from James Hillman. Each life is formed by its unique image, an image that is the essence of that life and calls it to its destiny. As the force of fate, this image acts as a personal daimon, an accompanying guide that I just told you about, the accompanying guide who remembers your calling, even when you forget it. The daimon motivates you, protects you, it invents and persists with stubborn fidelity. It often forces oddity upon its keeper. It offers comfort, but it cannot abide innocence. It is out of step with time, finding all sorts of faults, gaps, and knots in the flow of life. It has affinities with myth because it is itself a mythical being and thinks in mythical patterns. I love that phrase. So the daimon is a mythical symbol, a mythical essence. So it has affinity with myth because it is itself a mythical being and it thinks in mythical patterns. So there is not just one call in a lifetime. There's not just one call when you're young or one call for the childbearing year or for any heroic journey you might be on. There's not just one call for the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic. The call is continuous. So the call is without beginning or end. It is continuous. And it is a continuous call from love with a capital L, if you will, from love to love. It's calling us. Our greatest purpose on earth is not so much to accomplish things and to accumulate things as it is to learn love, and in particular self-love, which is for me, perhaps for you, one of the most challenging practices of any practice. So every moment of your life and every decision you face is a small invitation. The call could be considered an invitation. It's an invitation to love yourself, to be open instead of hiding or retreating. Visceral response, a deep in your belly response. That's why the poem says, Inanna heard from the great above, Inanna heard the call from the great below. It didn't come from her mind. It came from somewhere deep in her belly, and it will for you too. Finally, you will realize that you yourself are the call, and that the caller and the call are one in life. The call and the caller are one. So just to live is to be called. The Greek word anthropos means human being. It means the one who looks up as we look up when our name is called, the one who is willing to go forward, to go higher. So recognizing your name when you were a wee child, a child learning to answer to their name is one of the first human experiences of learning to recognize your call, life's call. So again, this is from James Hillman. There is more in a human life than our theories of it allow. There is more in a human life than our theories of it allow. Sooner or later, something seems to call us onto a particular path. You may remember this something as a signal moment in childhood when an urge out of nowhere, a fascination, a peculiar turn of events struck like an annunciation, and you felt with your whole being, this is what I must do. This is what I've got to have. This is who I am. Did you ever feel that? So, calling is about what you do, how you do it, and your character. Musicians often hear that call early in life at the Harlem Opera House. A skinny, awkward 16-year-old girl goes on stage. She is announced to the crowd as the next contestant, a young lady named Ella Fitzgerald. Miss Fitzgerald is going to dance for us. Hold it, hold it. Now, what's your problem, honey? Correction, folks. Miss Fitzgerald has changed her mind. She's not going to dance. She's going to sing. And Ella had 3 encores that night. She won first prize, and you know the rest of the story. She thought she went to dance, but her daimon nudged her and reminded her she came to earth to sing. So pay attention to accidents, accidental meetings, which are necessary nudges to fulfill our destiny. And whatever your destiny, whatever your calling, it will not go away, even if you avoid it for a while, even if you veer off the track for a while. If it's your destiny, something will bring you back to it. So I want to stress that the call is not necessarily to do a particular vocation or a job. We often hear people say they were called to be a midwife or a doula or another profession, and that's true. That may be a calling, but here's something that it's important to talk about. The calling is more about your character, and it's the way you do what you do. Therefore, this calling applies to everyone on the planet, regardless of their vocation or status in life. Every human being brings a unique character and aesthetic to whatever they do. How we cook, how we make a home, how we wait tables or sing opera or folk music, deliver mail or write or be a politician or rob a bank or teach, whatever it is we're doing, it's the way that we bring our essence, our soul energy to it. That is our calling. And so the calling, as I said, is continuous. It has no beginning or end. So it's with you during your ordinary day-to-day life. It is the work of every human. So it is not so important what work you do or how successful you are at that, but it's the character and soul that you bring to your ordinary life. The call is an invitation from your soul, from you, compelling you to do something you have not yet done. Something that may not make sense or come easy to you. Sometimes that's what the call asks you to do. And that's why it can seem crazy, and some people will try to talk you out of it. You may hear your call in your reveries or dreams. It causes a quickening in your soul that can disturb your sleep. In the story of Inanna, when we used to do the Inanna walks, the Inanna ritual, when I led advanced trainings, and Virginia did too. A lot of us did this. It was a wonderful experience. And there would be someone in the background at some distance away from the walkers in the ritual, and they would be crying Inanna's name. They were like coming from the underworld, calling Inanna forth. And that Inanna is not just a character in a 5,000-year-old poem. It's you. We are all Inanna. We are all on the heroic journey. So when you hear your name being called, when you hear your purpose being called, it was kind of eerie on those dark night walks, especially when we were at Ghost Ranch, to hear this name called eerily, quietly, moaning through the night. We could all hear it in the distance. And it quickened us. And it was like hearing our own name. Hope you can feel that. So in the world of paradox, the call and the fall often come together. In fact, probably always come together. When we're first called to take action, we might be full of idealism and joy and imagining the great thing we're going to do or the great experience we're going to have. And thank God we have that innocence, because if we knew what lied ahead, we might not make that journey. Common sense would prevail. Comfort would prevail, but it doesn't happen that way. So the call and the fall often come together. So be prepared for that. A fall can come gradually in a series of events unfolding or seemingly suddenly. And when we suddenly feel our grief, our pain, our vulnerability, our I'm too small to do this, what am I gotten myself into? I want to get out of this, but you can't. You got to go forward. You're in it now. And that's what makes this journey so powerful. So when you're feeling that grief and vulnerability and self-doubt and all of that, I'm not ready, here's where you connect to all the other human beings who aren't ready. So during this refusal phase, this doubt and hesitation, remember, you're not resting or being lazy. You're gathering information, resources, developing resources, and you're growing soul. No worries. Even while you pause here in a phase of preparation for the unknown or the quest, the call will keep coming because it is without beginning or end. So as you are embarking on a heroic journey in the underworld of COVID-19 in your own personal way, feel this. Feel this for yourself. From the great above, I'm opening my ear to the great below. From the great above, I'm opening my ear to the great below. From the great above, the me that is following in Inanna's footsteps, the Inanna me is opening my ear to the great below. And on our next call, which will be a group call in a couple of days, we'll be looking at your deepest question and other practices to help you answer your call. Thank you.